feel it's necessary to yak about bullshit in order to be comfortable?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It is, I guess it's Late Night with the Gringo, episode 64, but it's not that late night, so I figured we better explain that.
It's
You know,
evening with the Gringo.
It's kind of like evening, kind of dusky,
Dusk.
you know. But here's the thing: we started our channel, we started doing our live stream, and there's a time change in the United States, unfortunately, and it really messes with our time down here because we don't change the time down here. So we decided to sort of move up our normally scheduled programming, and I thought we'd try out this 3 p.m. slot because it's still later for everybody up in the United States as opposed to where we are. As opposed to when we go live, usually like we were going live around normally like 8 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, and on some nights it was like already 10, 11 o'clock at night
On the East Coast.
on the East Coast. So we said, let's try something different. So I know we said, well, it's Late Night with the Gringo. Well, I kind of changed. I kind of have this little surprise for you. Watch this. I kind of threw this together real quick. Hopefully this works. If it doesn't work, it's my fault. It's not his fault. It's my fault. South of the border.
Hey,
all right. So we got a little new thing there going, and I'll have to spruce that up a little bit. But there we go. A little bit south of the border, baby. You're going to love that. So how you doing today? You've had a busy day.
It's been a busy day. Got up early. Well, I got up early, not out of my own fruition. I was a little sick, so I didn't really fall back to sleep too well.
You ate Mexican street food again, didn't you?
No, it wasn't even that. I think it was just, I don't know. I just think it was just yesterday. I went all over the place. The heat, change the temperature, altitude, all that fun stuff.
I told you, don't drink the water. Or at least
I didn't
drink the bottled water.
I didn't drink no water.
So,
But I've been busy the morning. I recorded. I didn't do too much editing yet. I've been just kind of prepping for a couple other projects related to the channel. So
nice.
been busy.
Awesome.
How about you?
No, I've been busy. I've been, it's a beautiful day out, so I decided to take a walk today. But, we got a lot to talk about today as opposed to one topic. And it's the topic that seems to be dominating everything. And it's kind of driving me nuts because I consider myself a fairly intelligent individual. I've got academic degrees. I really do. I swear. They're right down there in an envelope. I'm going to hang them up one day. I have academic degrees. I'm an intelligent person. But
Sure
this
you
whole
are, buddy.
tariff thing, is driving me nuts because either I'm not smart enough to get the strategy, or it really is chaos and there's no use trying to figure it all out because you think left is right. I guess in the whole thing, left is right, up is down, cats are dogs. It's really, it doesn't make any sense with what's happening, what's going on, and it's going to start to affect other things now. I just think I think there's a lot of chaos and there's a lot of uncertainty. I think we ought to get into it, but just for me, when I think of these tariffs and I think of what's going on, okay, so Trump imposed his massive tariffs a couple days ago. The reciprocal tariffs, right? And what happened to the stock market over those days?
It went down.
It took a freaking nosedive. It dropped between 5 and 7%. World markets dropped between 5 and 7%, if not more. It was just a huge sell-off. We're in a fear of recession, right?
Right.
And then, okay, so then we get the good news yesterday. He's like, I'm going to pause the tariffs. I'm going to do a 90-day pause on tariffs for the countries that want to negotiate.
Which are most of them.
Which are most of them, right?
He's at deals with South Korea and Japan.
Yeah.
Canada's at the table. So, yeah, big partners.
So what happens? The stock market went up crazy. It was like one of the biggest gains of all time, right? I mean, it didn't gain back everything that it lost, but it gained like around 3,000 points. So I'm like, oh, okay, things are great. Plus, today, the news comes out the next day, hey, inflation has cooled off. Like the dreaded word inflation, it's cooled off. Prices are going down on everything, used cars, everything.
Which is fantastic.
You think it's fantastic. But what happens to the stock market?
It goes down.
It takes a freaking dive.
Not as big as a dive as it gained yesterday.
Well, at this point in time, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? This is all rigged bullshit at this point, right? I know I sound like a liberal Democrat at this point because I know I've heard Democrats say this already a couple times. But it just seems like, okay, this stock market is being manipulated so it goes up, way down, these wild swings, so people can just cull their losses and then get their gains and just make a little bit more cash. This is just nothing economically. Nothing that's happening right now makes sense if you're looking at it in a logical perspective. Even if you're looking at it from like, hey, I'm looking at this from like a 3 month out period. It just nothing makes sense. And I mean, is it me? I mean, I would think that if inflation went down, the stock market would be like, yeah, great, things are cheaper. People are going to buy more stuff. You would think, oh, let's invest.
Do you think the market would go up?
Yeah.
Well, it's probably because of the sell-off happening today. Because probably people recuperated most of their losses, or a good chunk of their losses, maybe certain stocks, and so they just started to sell. And what can happen with that is it causes the market to think, oh, it's in a crash. Everyone's selling, which means they're panicking. But in reality, no, people are just profiting from the gain from yesterday.
Well, wait, let me look up this. Where's the stocks right now?
It's you want the Dow Jones?
Yeah, what's the Dow Jones?
It's just under 40. It's 39,593.66, which is not bad. Not bad.
Well, that's basically where it ended
3 days ago, 4 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just it's basically up and down, down and up. And yeah, it wiped out 1/3 of the historic rally of yesterday, right?
Right.
So it's just there's no consistency in this market. There's no consistency in this economic plan, and I get it. President Trump tells us to be cool. That was his word. That's what he said. Everybody be cool. I'm like, what are we in a mafia movie? Everybody be cool, And I get it. I want to trust the guy because he seems to have been right. I've said this before. Was he right on immigration and the border and border security?
Yeah. Let's be
was
honest.
Was he right on bringing in Doge to look at all the crap that was in there? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Have you seen the spending?
Yeah, I've seen it. Believe me, I've seen it. Oh wait, U.S. aid is going to come into a story later on that I got later on.
Really? Is that again?
Oh, woo-hoo. Oh boy, it's got to do with October 7th.
Can't stay out of the news.
No,
can't stay out of the news. Oh,
so I mean, was he right about that? Was he right about looking at the spending and the taxes and things like? Yeah, sure, he was. He was right about all that stuff. So I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, even though it's really difficult to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt right now. With the way it just seems like it's a rigged game, and
I get that.
So I'm trying. I don't want to be a naysayer. I don't want to be a doomsayer. I don't want to be one of those people that just kind of jumps off the cliff and the world's on fire. I get that, right? But he's been wrong on a few other things. Like I remember him saying within 48 hours of him becoming president, the Ukraine war would be over. Is the Ukraine war over?
No.
No. Is Gaza and Israel are they done fighting? No.
So he got ceasefire deals though. To give him credit.
Didn't last.
No, it didn't last. But I'm just saying he did get deals.
Didn't last.
He got deals. He did get deals.
So
not trying to say he did everything, but
Excuse me. I'm still getting over this whatever it is that I have, this Hong Kong flu that I got when traveling internationally. But anyways. So let's get into some of this news stuff, and let me bring up this one last. And then plus, what we're going to talk about with Hollywood, that ought to be getting interesting. So now there's a lot of articles on why Trump did what he did. Okay, Trump pauses plans to hike U.S. tariffs on most countries except China. I think part of his whole plan was this is a whole elaborate chess move to box in China. I could be wrong.
It seems like that.
So
sorry.
No problem. We're both sick. So he unveiled a 90-day pause, pulling back from his global trade war, which is what it was, right? I mean, the markets were just people were losing trillions of dollars were lost worldwide. All right. Now he said he would hold firm on his aggressive trade strategy, but then the next couple of days he said no, and there'd be a reprieve and only face a blanket U.S. tariff of 10% until July. So there's still a tariff. There's still a 10% tariff.
Oh, okay.
It's just not the reciprocal blanket tariffs that he originally had. Asked why he ordered the pause, the U.S. president told reporters people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy. I'm not exactly sure how to interpret that from the president of the United States. As far as why did you change your economic policy? People were getting out of line and being yippy? What is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
That doesn't.
What is that?
Any answers? I need
Can it-
to
yippee?
just yippee.
Yippee is something that happens when you're like, you know,
Yippee-ki-yay?
I don't know, when I'm in the batting cages and I can't hit the ball, you know, I can't hit the curveball because I can't. I got the yips. I don't know.
People weren't delivering on their promises.
Yeah.
To him. I don't know.
So, as Beijing prepared to slap punishing 84% tariffs on U.S. goods from tomorrow, however, Trump said he would raise U.S. tariffs on Chinese exports to 125% effective immediately. So, China is just being the punching bag right now, which I'm fine with. I'm not defending China at all.
The Chinese market. Actually, how did the Chinese market do yesterday? Because that kind of came after, and I'm assuming they went down.
Yeah. Now, he says more than 75 countries had contacted the U.S. federal government to negotiate a solution since Trump unveiled plans for steep tariffs on their exports in a post on Truth Social, which, take that for what it is. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where he's getting that number from. I'm not there in the office with him, so hey, so then you saw the rally, you saw all that, rapid recovery, all that. So this seems like, yeah, here he goes. He goes, be cool, he declared earlier on Wednesday. Everything is going to work out well. So now we got 3 months, 90 days. And do we have enough people to negotiate all these trade deals with all these countries?
I don't know. I'm assuming ambassadors are being
Do you know how
brought on board.
Like, not every no. I assume so. Yes, you are absolutely right. But you know as well as I do, not every ambassador. Most ambassadors are not equipped with the knowledge to craft an economic agreement. That's why we have trade representatives.
Exactly.
And there's not that many trade representatives right now in the federal government. Do you think he can get? Okay, let's say the number 75 countries.
Okay.
Do you think the United States government can, within 90 days, get 75 deals done?
Oof. We're talking about federal government here.
I'm talking about the federal, which moves about as fast as a glacier.
I think if they really put all their efforts towards this, I think maybe 50.
Okay.
50 deals I could see, but not 75.
All right.
75 seems like too much, 50 seems more reasonable if they're reasonable countries.
Okay. All right. I can deal with 50. I mean, I guess 50 is good. China has pledged to retaliate against Trump's latest salvo from Thursday, increasing tariffs on U.S. exports from 34 to 84, branding the U.S. president's decision to escalate the trade war a mistake on top of a mistake. Okay. Well, here's the thing with China. They have been ripping us off, right? They have been manipulating their currency. So I guess doing the same thing with them as we've been doing year after year, if we're going to do something different, I guess I'm fine with that, right?
I mean, it is different. I mean, have we really to this extent? No. We've done like a bit of a trade war with China, but it wasn't like this severe.
No, it wasn't this severe. No, not at all. And we kind of lost that trade war because the reality is we don't have the labor market to compete with their labor market. I'm sorry, people in the United States are not going to work for $1 an hour.
No.
Would you work for $1 an hour?
God, no.
I would work for $1 an hour.
I mean, what am I getting on top of that dollar? I'm getting like exemptions on taxes and like free food and stuff. Maybe I could see somebody taking it. I wouldn't still. It's $1.
Yeah. So I think for me, again, it goes into this. It's about just the confusion with what's going on. Don't know where it's going to go. Don't know what, and I guess maybe that's just part of it, holding the cards close to your vest, When you're playing poker, you hold it close to the vest, right?
Right, yeah.
So,
but it's a weird poker game. And it's a very high stake poker game.
It's very high. But here's the thing. People like Trump and people who are billionaires and multimillionaires, yeah, they're going to lose money, but they're not going to be hurt like average everyday Americans. It's the everyday Americans whose 401ks are shrinking to the point where they're like, okay, I can't retire at 65. I got to get a job. I got to go be a Walmart greeter. Do they even have Walmart? Maybe Walmart should bring back Walmart greeters as part of like a plan to help out
the federal, the national economy.
Yeah. It's just so
they kind of exist, but they're more like Walmart, like receipt checkers, and even then, like most people like blast by them.
Yeah. So I just so I have no idea where this is going, but you know who I do know who's going to get hurt? Hollywood.
Ooh, why is that?
Well, what happens? Excuse me. So like I said, I'm still getting over a cold. Could Trump's tariffs lead to China banning Hollywood films? Yes, it could.
What do you mean? Like what? Just because of like tariffs?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. China can say we don't want Hollywood's films being shown. They can shut down the internet if they want. They don't care.
I mean, yeah, I know that. Yeah, it's China. China's China.
So imagine that the Minecraft movie's open, doing gangbusters, right? It's probably going to make a ton of money in China if it opens up in China, when it opens up in China, right? So maybe that one's safe, right?
Right.
So this past weekend in China, Warner Brothers and Legendary's a Minecraft movie conquered the box office. Oh, it already broke
Yeah.
a local blockbuster. So it beat Neza Do 2, whatever you want to call it, which has already grossed over $2 billion after a 10-week reign, right? So Minecraft is making buttloads of money.
Really?
Yep. But if they don't allow movies, right? If they try to decide, hey, Hollywood, we're not going to let in, what happens to, like this movie right here, Superman? Or what happens to The Fantastic Four, right? What happens to all these big summer releases that really need a little bit of that China money
To kind of make sure it gets over the edge.
yeah, that make it successful.
Yeah, I mean, my bigger concerns were kind of, well, Superman, I feel like by the time Superman comes out, we would have had something done by then. Or those things would be relaxed. This feels like a threat towards more like the other big movies coming out, like Disney. I mean, Disney needs a win. If you're Disney, you need a win right now.
Well,
And your big ticket item right now is not the Thunderbolts, it's Lilo and Stitch in about a month or so, right?
yeah, it's about a month or so, yeah.
A month or so. You're hoping by then that movie ban is gone. Because right now you're gonna take the loss on the Thunderbolts because not many people are excited for it. Not many people are aware of it. Now China's boxing you out. Yeah, you're gonna take a loss. And you're still hoping to maybe break even with that at the very least.
Yeah, see, look, with U.S. President Donald Trump's new tariff mandates on China, Variety reports that the China Film Administration has confirmed that they intend to reduce their import of U.S. films, which would affect major superhero blockbusters like Superman and the Fantastic Four. First steps. In an official statement from the China film industry, they gave the following comments. Here we go. The wrong action of the U.S. government to abuse tariffs on China will inevitably further reduce the domestic audience's favorability towards American films. We will follow the market rules, respect the audience's choice, and moderately reduce the number of American films imported. Hey, boy.
Well, okay, they're saying that the market, in this word, they're saying that the people don't want American films because of the trade war. That's not exactly true. It's just the government doesn't want American movies because of the trade war.
Yeah.
So they're trying to find other ways to hurt American industry, which is expected.
Oh, look, China gets the Thunderbolts early. Look at this. China has given them a secured release date in China, the Thunderbolts, of April 30th. I believe it's May 2nd that it comes out here.
I can double check.
Yeah.
I got it.
You got it? Because you can check, yeah. But so I mean that's
May 2nd.
May 2nd,
May
right?
2nd in the U.S.
Is that a Friday?
It looks like it would be. Let's pull up my calendar app here, maybe.
Because if it's a Friday, May 2nd, means we get it May 1st usually here in Mexico. So we'll have it a day earlier than the United States and a day later than China.
No, I want.
Which definitely, if it's a day later than China, then means it early. By the way, it's funny. Movies here, the day a movie comes out here in Mexico, you can automatically get it on the black market. It's ridiculous. It's you get it DVD quality, digital quality. It's great quality.
Let's see.
Although it's
here.
in Spanish.
May 2nd is a Friday.
So we will probably see it on May 1st.
You'll probably get it May 1st. So,
But
they got pretty much 30 days, 20 days.
Yeah, but I mean, if they don't fix this, let's say that they say Superman can't be seen. Let's say the Fantastic Four first steps can't be seen. I mean that's some millions of dollars.
Yeah,
that's some good millions of dollars.
And it's not like the issue with China is you got to pretty much put that out opening weekend, the early release date, because you miss out the release date, they're gonna get reviews from the U.S. and they're gonna think, oh, this is a bad movie. Because I'm sure they're gonna get bad reviews in the U.S. I'm just thinking as a Disney executive, you're probably looking at your past few films of the year and you're thinking, okay, people are going to be pessimistic about this and more overtly negative. So yeah, that opening release is really more important.
And you keep mentioning Disney. And of course, for Disney, you look at some of the past things that they've done with their movies to make sure that they're successful in China, like with The Force Awakens. Was it The Force Awakens?
Yeah, The Force Awakens. They took him out.
They didn't take him out. They made him so small and put him in the background like Finn, the black guy.
My Little Mermaid too.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
That was a big one. Yeah, they did that. They took out a bunch of stuff in other movies to hopefully make it successful, right? But I mean, it is what it is. So if these tariffs affect Hollywood, the box office looks the last year Hollywood was just saying survive until 25, right? Because COVID, streaming wars, nothing in the pipeline, strikes, all that crap, people being really fatigued with some of the crap being put out by Hollywood. And I thought, well, now there's not enough stuff coming through in 2025. There really isn't.
No, it's. Well, I think they saw Snow White probably and some of the Marvel movies listed that come out this year, and they thought, all right, this will be a good year for movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so far, it's been a pretty big flop for most movies, unless you're Minecraft.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at this. I mean, okay, let's take out this top one right here. This is all China, right?
Yeah.
This is all China. All right, so let's take out Niza 2, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Captain America: Brave New World only did $413 million. I mean, as far as a Marvel movie goes, that's pathetic.
It still took a loss, no?
Yeah, it took a huge loss.
A huge loss.
Huge loss. Minecraft movie has only been open for about a week. I think it was a week ago we saw it. It opened up here a week ago. $336 million, and that's not including the numbers from China, right? Well, we've got $14 million to be included from China. So there you go. So obviously that thing's going to have some legs. Snow White can't break $170 million. Yesterday, you want to know how much money Snow White made at the box office?
What, 10 at most?
700,000.
700,000?
Yep.
Oh, that movie's over.
Yeah.
There it goes.
Yeah, it's done. It's just done. Done. So, let's see here. Tuesday. Yeah, $659,000. Couldn't even make $700,000 yesterday. Where Minecraft made $12 million.
Yeah, so Minecraft's gonna push it out of theaters.
Yeah. So
I mean, it caused them to cancel Rapunzel.
Yeah, well, shoot. Well, yeah, Rapunzel. Yeah, they can't. You tell me that they canceled Rapunzel.
Yeah, they were. Apparently, it was in the works. They and the reasoning is so because of how poorly Snow White performed in the theaters, they just canned it for right now.
Yeah,
I don't know if they fully canned it or if they're just putting it on break or on hold. I imagine they're gonna just not release it for tax reasons.
Well, Snow White also got her butt kicked by Jesus.
What?
The Chosen, Last Supper Part 2. I hadn't heard of this.
Is that the poster we saw in the theater? The random one?
Yeah, the random. Yeah, they're going to be. Yeah, so it hasn't come out yet. It's coming out this week here in Mexico. The Chosen, Last Supper Part 1. Then The Chosen, Last Supper Part 2. Made him over $1 million yesterday. So Snow White got her ass kicked by Jesus. Go Jesus.
Go JC.
Go JC, baby. Everybody needs a little bit of Jesus. But I mean, if you look at this list of Hollywood rollouts, okay, Minecraft, I think we can call that a success right now because it's going to continue to make money.
Well, it already is positive. It did what it needed to do.
Yep. Snow White, failure.
Biggest failure.
Dogman, I guess it made money because it's an animated movie. Did this movie? I don't think this movie even came out in the United States. Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy. It came out in foreign markets, made $131 million.
Probably so lost.
Yeah. Mickey 17. That was a huge loss. The Monkey, which I wanted to see it, but I haven't had a chance. We haven't had a chance to go see it. It's basically Stephen King's like Skeleton Crew. Stephen King wrote, in the first part of his writing career, he used to love doing these little compendiums of short stories.
Right.
And one of them was called Skeleton Crew. You've probably seen the cover. It's got the mechanical monkey that bangs the goal.
Oh yeah.
So it's based off of some of that stuff, and he's involved in the making of it. So I did want to see that, but I haven't seen it. A Working Man, which is a Jason Statham movie, which I don't know. That's like saying I went to see Jason Statham is like the Steven Seagal of the 21st century, right?
Ooh, that's rough.
So, I mean, $66 million. I'm sure, I don't know what his budget was for that. But listen, the re-release of Parasite, right, from a few years ago, that's made more money worldwide and made it than everything else that's come out since then.
That's pretty rough.
Right? Novocaine, $32 million. Black Bag, $35 million. It's been a miserable first part of the thing. So if they decide to go and put these tariffs and limit the box office, there's going to be a lot of problems for Hollywood.
Yeah, there's problems now already.
But you know what? it's not that I want to see it happen, but you know what? It couldn't happen to a nicer set of people, I guess.
Yeah.
They keep trying to shovel shit down our throats and call us we're the bad people.
And they rely on the Chinese market and
yeah.
in order to kind of supplement the losses that they would make in the U.S. So in a way, you kind of force them. Hey, realize if you want to keep on depending on them, fine, that's your choice. But we're going to be in trade wars probably more often than not than you realize, and they might retaliate.
No, they're gonna. I mean, China's gonna retaliate.
Oh yeah, China's gonna retaliate. But you know what I mean. You see what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So just tariff chaos. I'm willing to ride or die right now with them for a little bit. But sooner or later, someone's gonna have to come out and explain exactly what the strategy is. What's the end game, right?
The end game is to get deals, buddy.
Well, if
what kind of deals? Not a clue.
I don't know.
Not a clue.
So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. So there's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to try and figure out. And again, people will point to tariffs and they'll say, "Hey, it didn't work the first time when we did tariffs during the Great Depression."
Yeah.
But the problem is those tariffs were put in after the Great Depression already began, so it just exacerbated things. It was just bad timing. And so, anyways, all right, we get some other news. So we've been following the Texas tragedy, we call it.
I think it's a fair way to call it.
Yeah. So this gentleman here, Carmelo Anthony. So I got some new news on this.
Of course we do.
All right. This gentleman, Carmelo Anthony, basically admitted to the cop who arrested him. Yeah, I did it. I'm not alleged. I did it. Stabbed this gentleman right here. So
what else is new then?
What else is new? Well, we didn't know this when we were first reporting this, and this is sort of a correction for us. In 2005, excuse me. Let me start from the beginning. Carmelo Anthony, the 17-year-old suspect in the stabbing death of Frisco, Texas track star Austin Metcalf, cannot face the death penalty or life without parole, according to the district attorney, Greg Willis.
All right. Interesting. What's the reason for this?
Willis explained that prosecutors cannot seek the death penalty or life without parole because of the Supreme Court ruling in a case called Roper v. Simmons from 2005 that excludes juveniles from those punishments. So they're
not charging him as an adult?
They're charging him with first degree, but not as an adult now, apparently. So the Supreme Court has said that not only can you not seek the death penalty against someone who committed a crime under 17, you can't even get them life without parole. That would be something that would not be something we could do even if we wanted to. And I'm sure I think that basically
I think that's what they wanted to, yeah.
All right. Anthony has been charged with first-degree murder in Metcalf's death. The pair went to different Frisco high schools, but were both at Kirkendall Stadium, April 2nd for a track meet where the alleged stabbing occurred. Asked whether the trial will be moved outside of Collin County, Willis said that's up to the judge. Quote, ultimately, that'll be a judge's decision to make at the time of the trial. But yes, this happened in Collin County. I want Collin County citizens to be able to decide this. So the DA does not want this moved. He wants it right there. He wants to try it right there.
And I'm sure the defense wants to move it to somewhere else.
Wants to move it, right? Oh, this gets even...
Well, are they going to try him as an adult? Or as of this moment, they're just not going to go after that?
No, I think that it's not going to go after that.
All right.
At this point. So, here's the deal. We talked about how this is going to turn into a race thing.
Okay, yeah.
Oh God, it's not even turning into, it is, right?
Okay, now it's become one. Okay, great.
While the hearing will be open to the public, cameras will not be allowed inside the courtroom, and there will be no live stream of the proceedings. Okay,
that's fair.
An online fundraising campaign for Anthony has climbed steadily all week and has now surpassed. So the suspect, the guy who's basically admitted to saying he stabbed the guy, has got over $300,000.
Let me get this straight.
Yeah.
We have a GoFundMe already?
It's not a GoFundMe. It's because GoFundMe, you can't do this on GoFundMe for criminal stuff and whatnot. Okay. It's a different platform.
All right. Well, listen, I mean, he's entitled to a defense, of course.
Yep.
As to what defense he's going to plead is going to be interesting. I'm sure $300,000 is a good amount to start off with for a defense attorney.
I'm sure
a good defense attorney, and I'm sure there are people lining up. Either with some reputation to prove or eager lawyers to offer their services. We'll see.
Well, here's the thing, right? It's not just that, but it seems like the suspect. It's like that healthcare guy, the healthcare shooting.
Oh yeah,
right. Luigi or whatever guy's
Luigi
name is, that
Malleone, yeah.
idiot, right? Everybody's like, they're like, yeah, he's a hero. He's not a hero. He killed somebody. He
Okay.
killed a father. He killed a husband. He killed a person, right? I don't care what the motivations were. He committed murder. To applaud that is ridiculous and sick, right? They're all of a sudden these people are applauding this guy. I'm gonna continue because this goes
What
on.
do you mean people are applauding his
Oh
action?
yeah. He's the new George Floyd.
What?
Oh God, yes. Here we go.
What? How?
Hell,
What? How did this happen? Whoa.
Meanwhile, Dallas activist and head of an organization called Next Generation Action Network, Dominique Alexander, met with the Frisco police Tuesday behind closed doors. Police refused to comment after the meeting, but Alexander held a press conference and told reporters he asked police for increased protection of the Anthony home, the suspect's home, claiming that their address had been maliciously shared online. Quote, "We have saw so many different hateful images, just hateful things, and the Next Generation Action Network wants to reiterate Carmelo Anthony has a right to a fair trial,
That's fair.
unbiased and remove of racial hate and bigotry." Absolutely.
I agree with
do
you.
not disagree with you.
That's fair.
All right. But then we go on. Alexander has been critical of police and the justice system in the past. Next Generation Action Network held a George Floyd Week in 2021 to commemorate Floyd's death the prior year. Right?
As our right
Quote,
is.
quote, the movement, this is Alexander, the movement for Black Lives must win, that everyone should be protected, and that the statehood of policing must change. Like, one of the things I always say is that every victim, every family doesn't get the same attention like a George Floyd or a Breonna Taylor. It does not mean that their issues are not important. It just means that that this oppressive system has won to suppress the facts about the case. And he did not return comment or request from this spring. So yeah, we've already invoked the name of George Floyd here.
Well, hold on. Did he bring that up, or did the news bring that up? Looks like the article brought it up.
The article brought it up.
Which is, so it was not related. The article is adding things in there that's not related. Yes, he's got a history, but that's because that's what his movement is all about.
Do you think this is a case of police brutality?
No.
Do you think this is a
He's
case
not alleging
of
that.
oppression?
No, he's not alleging that. He's not alleging that.
Then why is he there?
He's there because of the death threats to the family.
Okay.
And he wants protection for the family, which is fair to
That's
ask.
fine. I think the family and the police can work that out and figure that out on their own. We don't need action network there.
Not necessarily, but I'm sure the Action Network is not there.
He's there for donations, buddy.
I'm sure he's there for also donation money, but at the same time,
he's there for the press.
I'm sure the family is happy to have an organization speak on their behalf for the need of protection.
I'm sure.
Put pressure. So listen,
the same family that said that there's false rumors being spread online. Here's my question: why can't that's all they say? There's false information being spread online. Okay, what is that false information? They don't tell you.
They probably can't tell you. Their lawyer probably told them don't say a thing as to the details of the case. Which is smart if you that's a lawyer defense. Listen, I'm not trying to say that the family's right in the right here, but I'm just or the victim.
No,
or not
if
the
you're-
victim.
if
I'm
you're
not saying that. Hold on. I'm not saying that the suspect is innocent of all that he's been accused of. Of course, he's alleged. He's got to go to trial. It has to be proven. What I am saying is this: any good defense lawyer is going to tell your family to not talk about the details of the case because it can put your case in jeopardy. So of course they're not going to be like to go out and tell you there is false information. They're not going to be specific with the false information if there is false information.
I'm just saying, if I was a defense attorney, I'm telling people I'd have them be as vocal as possible. Because
No, that's how you
not Carmelo. Carmelo keeps his mouth shut. But the family out there can say, no, that's bullshit. That's fake news. That's just create as much of a shitstorm as possible.
The problem is just the parents are the guardian, so that their word would be more associated with Carmelo as a result because he's their legal guardian. They're the adults in the room essentially talking with the lawyer, making certain decisions with him. You know what I mean?
For me,
so it's not the same thing. If it was
if you're going to tell me it's false information, then tell me what's false, so I know it's false.
You can ask that, and that's a fair thing to ask. But you're gonna
especially to the people who are prospective jurors out there who are reading this stuff already. Do you think he's going to be able to find a jury pool who hasn't read anything online about this case in that county?
Probably not.
So if there's false information, you better be out there.
Well, that's what court is for, to prove. Is this information false?
By the time you've already chosen those jurors, they're already tainted.
To an extent, sure, maybe. But everyone's tainted. We have the internet.
So,
Everything's tainted. You could probably go down to Houston and try to pick a juror from there. And they would have already known some details of this case.
well, here we go. Metcalf. Here we go. We got more details for you, by the way.
I just don't like the direction this article's going already.
The arrest report from the incident.
Oh, okay. Now this is interesting. I do want to hear more about this.
Okay.
Not more speculation. I want facts. I want facts, gringo.
Make sure this stops.
Very sad. Chandler Panners.
Yeah, here we go. An arrest report from the incident paints a clear picture of what the police and witnesses claim happened during the stabbing inside the Memorial High School track team's tent.
Okay.
Metcalf reportedly told Anthony that he needed to move out of the Memorial team's tent, a witness told Frisco police. The report noted that Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, and reached inside it, and then said, "Touch me, see what happens." Metcalf then pushed Anthony out of the tent, according to the report. And the next moment, the witness told police that Anthony, quote, reached into his bag, and the male took a knife out of the bag and stabbed Austin.
Okay. Wait, so pushed away, then proceeded to escalate.
So,
According to this,
the timeline is no one had any physical contact. The first thing Carmelo did was put his hand in his bag, obviously grabbing a knife, and said, "Touch me and see what happens. Get out of the tent. You don't belong here." Pushed him out of the tent, and then the stabbing. So there was for me that speaks to intent. He was intending to stab this kid.
He had intent to stab him. Did he have intent to kill?
Right?
Different.
Listen,
But
if you stab someone in the chest,
yeah,
it ain't meant to tickle.
Yeah, exactly. It is intended to kill. If he stabbed him like the knee or the shoulder or something, different.
Or just kind of did a little swipe. No, he stabbed him.
He stabbed him.
So a school resource officer was the first to respond to the scene and handcuffed Anthony, noting that there was blood on the suspect's left finger. Quote, "I was protecting myself," Anthony said. "He put his hands on me." One officer at the scene referred to Anthony as the alleged suspect, and Anthony made a spontaneous statement according to the report. He said, quote, "I'm not alleged. I did it." Anthony also asked the officers if Metcalf was going to be okay, and then asked if what happened could be considered self-defense.
Okay. This does not look good for you if you're the defense attorney. The problem with the big problem with besides the whole fact that a kid died and the tragedy that occurred in the result of these two lives pretty much being ruined. The problem with your defense attorney is you're looking at the fact that he grabbed his knife before anything had occurred, which means either A, he was expecting this to escalate, and instead of removing himself from a situation that was going to escalate, and seeking the help or advice of a supervisor that was right there, he decided to stand his ground, which again has they're probably going to plead stand your ground because this is a stand your ground state, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken,
it is a stand your ground state.
Which means he does have a right to say, "Hey, do not touch me." So, can you argue that him putting his hand on the knife counts as premeditation to an assault that then resulted in a murder, which would be then what, second degree? I'm sure they're charging first degree, so they don't have to charge down.
I don't know if you're grabbing a knife already before anything even happens. I'm thinking to myself, you're looking to do harm.
Well, at the same time, same situation.
And again, what are you doing with a knife in a track meet?
That is my concern. Why are you doing with a knife in a track meet? But also at the same time I'm sure the argument can be like, well, if he had a gun, you put your hand on your gun, and you make a threat saying, "Hey, don't come any closer, I'll shoot you," or "Don't do anything funny," and you know what I mean. Those people don't get charged with murder. So you could argue in this scenario, you're just substituting the gun for a knife. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So as bad as that is, it is still a possible way to explain it away if you're in the defense. Now, if you're the prosecution, you got to hammer that point of why he had the knife there and why did he grab the knife instinctually instead of removing himself from a situation when there are adults around. Because the problem with stand your ground is this. Stand your ground is like there's no other way to get, like if there's no police officer nearby, there's no help that is in the immediate vicinity to help de-escalate the situation. There is a supervisor there. That's your problem.
I got the arrest report.
But am I wrong?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
Am I wrong with what
You're
I'm
not
saying?
wrong at all.
I'm trying to do this by the law.
Here's the problem. Here's the thing. This case, even though it's going to be decided, or it seems like certain parties in the media and certain parties in society want this case to be decided along lines of black and white. It is not a black and white case.
No.
There's not a clear right and wrong here, depending on really your perspective. But here is the actual arrest report.
Okay.
So now the police officer who responded, right, that made the arrest, was told by a witness, there's the person who did it. So I gave the suspect instructions to keep his hands up in the air. During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, quote, I was protecting myself. It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident when he made that comment. I asked him if he had any weapons. He said no. I patted him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence, and I did not locate any on his person. I instructed the male to continue walking along the fence, which he complied, towards an area where he was an opening. All right.
Okay.
While walking him off the track, the suspect also said he put his hands on me. I then detained the suspect in handcuffed behind his back, and had him sit down on the ground. All right. Officer Ritchie had arrived on the scene at the time. I conducted another pat down of this person and then searched this person after he gave me consent. No weapons were located. While the suspect sat on the ground, I advised that I had the alleged suspect. The suspect then responds and said, I'm not alleged. I did it.
That is admissible in court.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Because he's already... Well, he hasn't been read his rights at that point still. Well, even that doesn't matter. No, because I'm sure he had a body camera on him too. That probably caught. Yeah. Yes, you can't plead that you didn't do it. I mean, not that you were going to plead that anyways, but all right.
Yep. As we were walking to the squad car, the suspect was emotional and said, he put his hands on me. I told him not to. I did not question the suspect about the incident while he was escorted to the patrol vehicle. So this guy's still, Anthony's just fucking talking.
He's talking and pleading self-defense,
Yep.
Which, you know, if he is a smart kid, he's got 3.7 GPA, works 2 jobs, right? We discussed this previously. He probably does know that this is being recorded, and the best thing he can do is to one, plead his case while on the camera, right, and while with the officer.
Oh, you know what? Hold on.
And two, ask. This is later in the report, but as we discussed, ask if the victim is okay.
Yeah.
So that is on tape and that is on record. So it's kind of smart. I'm not saying he's trying to hide away a murder or something. Well, I guess kind of you are, huh?
I mean, will they make this body camera public?
I imagine. Well, this would be in court. After court, I don't know if it would be public.
Well, I mean, we saw the body camera yesterday of the woman, the teacher who was arrested for abusing the student.
That seems so cut because that's not like the main evidence. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is evidence.
While sitting in the backseat of the patrol car, the suspect asked me, "Is he going to be okay?" Talking about Austin Metcalf, the kid stabbed.
Exactly.
Probably not. You stabbed him in the chest. So.
What is that? What the officer said?
No.
Oh, I was like, that is horrible. The officer said that to the kid.
That's what I'm saying. Again, the officers did not question everything Carmelo is saying. He is just
saying freely
freely.
Yeah.
So
this is all admissible.
Yeah, they're talking about when they brought him to jail, they placed him in jail, kept his possessions, changed him into the whole search and everything like that. And then the body worn camera is now evidence.
Yeah, exactly.
So
because that arrest video we were watching was not evidence to the case. You know what I mean? There's no like crime being committed on camera.
Yeah. There's a supplemental here for the other officer who also says Anthony made his one thing to say, I'm not alleged I did it. So there are 2 officers that actually
heard 2 cameras probably.
And it's on their camera.
Okay.
So yeah, so this arrest report does not
paint a great picture.
No, it does not.
But at the same time, this arrest report does also tell you this, and the body camera footage tells you this. He's pleading his case there, trying to give rationale, right? So it's not like you can't say this person is an irrational person.
Suspect was crying hysterically.
Oh, never mind. Okay, not exactly rational. Huh? Yeah, that's
literally what the police wrote.
Yeah,
suspect was crying hysterically.
The thing that he has going for him, the thing he has going for him in this is the fact that he is asking about the victim because he shows that he didn't intend to kill him, right?
Yeah.
Granted, you did stab him in the chest, so I don't know what you're thinking. And then also probably in the heart, I imagine, because you could be punctured in the lung and still live, even though it is hard.
Yeah.
But if he died right there and then, I imagine it was artery, heart. That's not like a very easy thing to hit on by accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
So that's the other thing is where was he stabbed exactly in the chest?
Must have pierced his heart.
Yeah, it must have been because he died on the field pretty much.
Yeah, he died there. Yeah,
pretty much.
So officers began to set up the crime scene with tape moving. Non-essential personnel out of the immediate area. The officers on scene were informed that the knife that was used was tossed and was still believed to be somewhere close. Eventually, one of the witnesses said they remember seeing it on the bleachers still. Officer Schultz was able to locate the knife. It was located between rows 9 and 10 near seat 30, closest to the aisle, partially open. The rain, so it was a switchblade. So it was partially open, so it was a switchblade. Or at least something like that. Or something that,
I don't think it was a switchblade because a switchblade stabbing you in the heart. I mean, still, yeah.
Oh, it was something you open up. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was like those kind of daggers.
He didn't have a Rambo knife.
No.
The rain began to come down again heavily, and it was determined that instead of moving the knife, the officers covered up with a large blue tarp. So they had to cover everything. And one of the officers started taking photos with his own camera on his phone because it was raining. He wanted to get as much of the crime scene as possible.
It could be one of these. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
those are
it's like they're
not. Well, those aren't exactly small knives. They're still pretty decent big. It isn't black, so I imagine like something like this, but bigger, probably a little bigger than this. So this is off camera, people, but still, it's not exactly a knife you use for like just carving wood. This is a pretty clear like, oh, this is gonna be used for self defense and other things. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's other supplementals here from other, but they really basically just support everything that we've already talked about.
How many witnesses were interviewed?
The last article I saw, 75 witnesses were interviewed.
And this is pretty consistent amongst the 75, or do you think there's probably some varying details?
I think there's pretty much consistent. Here we go. Oh, here we go. There's another officer. This is Officer Wetzel. Hey, Wetzel. Taylor Wetzel. Let's see here. Let's see. Austin had told Anthony that he needed to move out from under the team's tent, and Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, and reached inside and proceeded to tell Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony, and then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony pulled out what Blank recalled, this is there because of the witness, recalled as a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Austin began grabbing his chest and telling everyone to get help. Blank advised he did not know Anthony's name, but stated another Memorial Track member, Blank, was friends with Anthony and he could identify Anthony. Blank described Anthony as a black male, skinny with possibly a goatee, short, puffy hair, and wearing Centennial High School clothing. This concluded my contact with this witness. And he started.
They talk about when he was after that.
So we've got.
Okay, here's the problem.
We got immediate eyewitness testimony.
Okay, if that's the testimony that's consistent and what the officers were receiving, the problem is stand your ground requires that there is immediate bodily harm to be.
You're actually invoking it. He's like, hit me.
He actually said, hit me.
Hit me.
Well, he touched him lightly. Essentially, first. Okay, because as I understand, touched him first.
Let me get back here.
Yeah, read it again. If you read the exact details, it touched him, and then he grabbed him by the shoulders, is what it sounds like to me.
See, that was Wetzel we talked
about?
Right there, okay.
No one really thought he had a knife. Okay,
yeah, Austin had told him to move out of the tent. Anthony, so he hadn't touched him. Anthony's reached into his bag, and he says, touch me and see what happens. No one really thought Anthony really had any weapons in the bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony.
So touch him doesn't mean...
So it's like, I dare you. It's like a little game. I dare you. It's like, oh, I'm not touching you. I'm touching you. You know, it's like...
touches him. But then after, he grabbed him.
A short time later, Austin, again, everything escalated. So then he's saying, punch me and see what happens. And a short time, he's like, you know what, you need to get out of here. We don't need this shit in my tent.
And grabbed him to try to remove him. Which you could then say is within his rights because this kid is becoming now belligerent within a tent that he's not supposed to even be in. So now you can even argue that he had a reason to try to remove Anthony. Granted, it's still not valid enough reason to put your hands on somebody. You should still grab the supervisor. No offense. But the fact that you've got...
we got more here.
If that is what's consistent, that's troubling for any defense because you're going to be like, oh, if that's a consistent testimony, he touched you once and then you still wouldn't move. You still stood your ground there. He grabbed you, which wasn't, sure, is wrong, is assault at the very worst, but isn't clearly trying to harm you in a significant manner. You know what I mean? It's not like he's trying to grab you and like choke you out or something, right? And then you stabbed him in the chest. Yeah, this is going to be really hard to plead stand your ground. and self-defense, because self-defense requires a certain amount of danger to be
His
exhibited.
his officer Alvin Fisher, who interviewed Hunter, the twin brother, right after.
Ooh. Well, okay. I know this is gonna sound horrible and say, but disclaimer: this is the twin brother who is going to be significantly biased.
Yeah.
As wrong as that is, I'm not saying he's wrong, because clearly these events took place, but you can't really rely on his testimony as a key testimony.
I don't know. It just seems like
What's a
I'll
twin
read
brother?
it to you.
It's biased,
Let me read you
You know
the
what I mean?
report. He couldn't get anything out of Hunter, but stated that he wanted to speak because Hunter was crying. He was very upset. He goes, I asked him what happened, and he stated they were all sitting on the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent when another male, who he did not know, walked over and sat under the tent. Blank then said Austin, the victim, told this male that since he did not go to Memorial, he had to leave the tent. So basically, the guy's saying, hey, this is not your tent, you need to leave. Austin and the male went back and forth, and then Austin stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. Blank had said during the time of arguing, the male was reaching around in his bag he had. It was at this time the male took out a knife and stabbed Austin and then left the scene. This is all Blank remembered when he talked to me. After this, I then stood by with 3 athlete witnesses until CID arrived and interviewed them. I was then relieved by an SRO and went back to patrol.
So let's get this straight then, essentially. He didn't even grab you.
No.
Possibly. He probably didn't even grab you. He touched you and then he pushed you.
Yeah.
Which means he was pushing you away from him. Which means you had to have gotten up. According to this testimony, which is the brother, which again we have to say is biased, but also this is a moment of traumatic tragedy. He may not be recurring details immediately perfectly, but he's at least recurring the death of his brother. So cut him some slack. Twin brother to be, to say the least. That means Anthony would have had to have gotten up and reapproached the student to stab him.
Yep.
Which means he would have had to engage, which isn't
Yep.
stand your ground, which means you have chosen to purposely involve yourself into a situation. Because if he charged him essentially to stab him, well, not charged, but approached him to stab him after being pushed, you had the option of a supervisor right there to tell you, hey, you're a student who pushed me. I just need to sit underneath the tent because it's raining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could go talk to the supervisor and he would resolve it and he'd be on your side. This kid then, according to this specific testimony, the kid needlessly escalated the situation.
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing.
Well, I mean, he died at the scene, but they tried to. This is the officers that met the hospital, that met the ambulance at the hospital. Officer Newton. I arrived prior to the ambulance and waited for them to arrive. They arrived at 10:46 hours with the victim, Austin Metcalf, who knows Austin Metcalf now, who was brought into the trauma bay for treatment. They were trying to revive him. They're trying to give him blood transfusion, anything. At 10:53 hours, Dr. Cow pronounced Austin deceased.
So they tried to bring him back for
Once he was
9
pronounced,
minutes, right?
Once he was
5,
pronounced,
7,
staff stopped treatment and disconnected cords and tubes from machines without removing anything from the body itself. While on scene, I took possession of clothing worn by Austin and maintained possession of the items until CSI Dillard took them from me. While on scene, Officer Landon requested assistance in lifting the sheets off the body to take photos. I then placed the sheets back when complete. I then stood by in the room for security while Officer Landon, Officer Hernandez, and CSI Dillard took additional photos. At one point, they rolled the body and removed shorts from Austin, which were bagged and stayed in my custody until CSI took them. At 13:24 hours, family was allowed into the scene to view the body.
So this is like 2 hours essentially later.
I was informed by staff and officers that they would be allowed to touch the head and feet of Austin, which they did. At 13:37 hours, nurses from the hospital bag Austin in a body bag. At 15:15 hours, a transport service for the medical examiner arrived and took possession of the body.
So 3:54 o'clock, he's out of the hospital. For at least 7 minutes in the hospital, they tried to resuscitate him. On the way there, they're probably trying to resuscitate him.
Yeah.
So they were trying to resuscitate him for at least probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
They knew it was but the doctor on call in the ER was like, this is done. It's done.
This is nothing.
It only took them a few minutes. There was no.
They were like, we can't, even if we try to repair the heart by then, it's dead. It's too long.
Yeah.
There's no miracle that you can work in that in terms of, at least human hands, you can't work a miracle like that.
This thing goes on. There's witness statements.
So they gathered and bagged this evidence very carefully.
Oh, yeah,
and procedurally.
Yeah.
So that you can't even dispute the evidence because according to all this testimony and probably also the reports from the hospital and never mind the body cams, right? Which I'm assuming are still on.
Here are all the names blanked out of all the
witnesses. Yeah,
that they need to go talk to.
Dude, that must be a shitty week at school to get called into the office and be like, "Oh, we need to talk to you about this incident." Because you probably get grilled for about an hour.
Yeah.
And I say grilled because that's what it feels like as a kid. But I'm sure they're trying to be as polite and as understanding to a kid who just witnessed them. You know what I mean? Who possibly was friends with the student.
Yeah.
That's devastating.
I have less and less sympathy for this guy right
listen,
now.
I at first was like, okay, I could maybe see a self-defense if he was like being grabbed and stuff and an accidental death, second-degree murder. But as this goes on, I'm not surprised that they charge him with first degree now. Because if they are relying on Hunter's witness testimony, and if this testimony is consistent with like most, if not a majority of these 75 witnesses, never mind if there's footage of this, right? Which we don't even know if that's possible. If there is, who knows who was recording what. It's a clear shut case that this guy was this did not necessitate self-defense to this degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is rough.
It's pretty sad when you read it, and then yeah. So I think
it's gonna be sucked. It kind of sucked to be the officer there because they're just with a dead kid the whole time. It's like it's haunting. I don't not envy that job sometimes.
I don't. It's really gonna, especially if it's a kid.
Yeah.
A kid like that.
Yeah, gotta break it.
I have all the sympathy in the world for the parents of both families. I mean, just
2 lives ruined essentially.
It seems like both kids were raised right, and just something was missed somewhere. And something went horribly wrong where this type of violence to escalate to this type of violence. And again, it's going to be made into a black and white thing, and it shouldn't be.
No,
it should not.
This
be
has
made
nothing
into
to
a
do
black
with race. This has everything. Now, if the defense going to try to pivot to race, I would understand.
Well, here's the thing. I was thinking
the
about
best
this.
defense would be kind of try to pull it that way.
I was thinking about this morning. Somewhere, somehow, those defense attorneys, if they're smart, they're going to go interview the people at Austin Metcalf High School, and they're going to find, because they say this is this football guy, and this is smart and popular. They're going to find 1 or 2 or 3 not so popular kids who maybe were bullied by this guy, and they're going to be able to abuse like, hey, see, this guy was a bully. This guy's not the popular guy we thought he was. I guarantee you the defense is doing that right now, or getting ready to do that.
It would be smart if the defense, as fucked up as it is.
They're gonna want Austin Metcalf's school records to see was he ever disciplined for bullying, for hazing, for anything like that, for any type of incidents like that.
I mean, he was an MVP on the football team. I don't think.
Buddy, when I grew up, the jocks on the football team were the biggest bullies in the world.
No, I know.
And I was at one point a jock on a football team, and I was the dichotomy. I was the nerd, but I also played football. It was really weird.
Yeah.
And my best friends were nerds, and I basically protected them.
Well, now it's a little different. Now it's a little more different. Most of my relationships when I didn't know my high school football friends.
Is it different? There's popularity and there's popularity, right?
It is a bit different. I don't think it's as popular as it was back then. I think it's a little more... There's a little more too many consequences when it comes to that kind of stuff for the players.
I know, but not everybody's perfect.
No, I'm not saying
neither of these kids is perfect, and I'm going to bet that the kid who is dead, and I'm not saying that you should victim blame or shame, but if we're playing devil's advocate about if we were the defense attorney, if we were on the defense team, we're absolutely looking into that type of stuff.
You're going to try any way, shape, or form to find something that makes him not look as innocent as he is.
Yeah,
you're trying to justify the actions of maybe your defendant, I guess, which is
your job is to defend your client as best you possibly can within the confines of the law, and that's what that defense attorney is going to do. I want to be as hard ass as I can be about this whole thing and say Carmelo Anthony, he should, from what I've seen and blah, 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 all that.
But there could be circumstances surrounding why he had the knife. You know what I mean? That's the big question. Like I brought up the first time, and you keep hounding about it. Why do you have a knife there?
And I keep coming back to the point, though, he's a 17-year-old kid.
Exactly, as well.
And I know that's not new, and it's not uncommon nowadays in the United States of America for 17-year-old kids to be involved in that type of stuff, but it's nothing you get used to. I'm not used to it.
No.
It may be something I go, okay, that's common, but It's not something I get used to.
It's something you should get used to. It shouldn't be the norm, you know?
It shouldn't be. I'm not desensitized to it. Maybe some other parts of society are.
Yeah, and you're going to
But
high school,
I'm
sometimes you
not.
hear some things, it's like, all right.
I'm not, But then again, you talk to your mother about this case, and she's on the opposite side, where she thinks that this is ridiculous that they're charging this kid with anything.
Well, no. She doesn't think it's ridiculous.
Not
for charging
ridiculous,
with anything.
but she's
They
got
think-
so much sympathy for this kid
Because she doesn't want to see, like, another kid's life also get pretty much ruined here
yeah.
as well.
I mean, but that's a legitimate point of view that you don't usually get.
Right. And she's a mother, too. I mean, 2 kids,
Yeah.
right? I mean, talk about the sympathy you would have. It's absolutely understandable, you know? You don't want to see another life ruined after one's already been ended.
And
But at the same time, it's that you have to, the kid's got to face some sort of punishment. You can't stab a kid and have him
but
die.
here's the thing: in the long run, the reason why I think also race should not be an issue here is because race doesn't help Carmelo Anthony's case.
No.
It doesn't saying it's a race issue does not help it. It doesn't give him any sympathy with
Well,
any jurors.
no, it might get him sympathy with jurors if they move it, and then also
But here's the thing:
Yeah.
the reason they're making it a race, some outside forces are making it a race case, is they don't see Carmelo Anthony as a person that they want to help. These outside forces, these BLM activists and all, they don't see Carmelo Anthony as like, we need to save him, we need to help him, we need to. No, they see him as a tool to raise money to make themselves more rich or more powerful or whatever else they're going to gain. They're not there to help him.
which is a shame.
They're
It's
not.
actually
Yeah,
a shame.
it's a shame. They're not there to help him. They're there to take his picture and slap it on a flyer for fundraising. That's what they're there for. And that's the thing that people don't really realize. It's not that these organizations are there for the aid of this child. They're there to take advantage of the situation this child finds themselves in to gain money, to gain notoriety, to gain exposure. And I guess that's why I'm so against this becoming a race issue, because it doesn't help the defendant in one bit.
No, I don't think so. Well, listen, I'm sure Austin Metcalf, right, had probably partook, and this is where I'm going to be afraid, is you've seen jokes and reels on Instagrams and even in group chats come out, you know, in past trials of young people. There are some really cruel jokes in there. Some of them, but it's all done in good fun. I won't be surprised if there's a joke in it that's like questionable when it comes to like race, but I'm sure there's, they're doing it with a friend of color. You know,
I've seen some really nasty comments. When this story first broke, I've seen some really nasty comments directed towards the victim, and so you can tell that those nasty comments are more directed towards the victim than towards Austin. I see some really nasty comments directed towards the family of the suspect.
Yeah, exactly.
And the suspect himself.
And my point is, listen, I'm sure they're gonna find in his phone because they're gonna technically his phone might be counting as evidence. Would you count the victim's phone as evidence to be able to go through those chats to kind of figure out more of who he was? Would you allow that as a judge? Is it possible?
You've got. I mean, the judge is going to be able to say there's probable cause to find something in there, but I don't think there is.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know what there would be.
I'm listen. Like I said, I've seen some Discord chats in my day of some really, really dark and really mean memes that they're funny, and no one takes them seriously. But in a court of law, you know how things can get turned.
Things get misinterpreted.
Well, not misinterpreted, but purposely turned,
twisted. Yeah.
purposely twisted. So I mean, listen. He's a football guy. I'm sure there's a chat with the whole football team where they share horrible memes, whether it's based on race or social messaging or whatever. You know what I mean?
I'm sure there is.
So my concern is that gets turned into something against the victim who's already lost his life. You know what I mean? Don't kick the dead horse. The saying, stop.
Yeah.
Just leave it be. That does not need it.
Well, we're going to leave that there. We'll continue to update the story. I got a couple little other articles I wanted to get your thoughts on these. This poor guy.
What poor guy?
Well, I don't call him poor guy. This guy actually, I'd love to meet this guy. All right. Rejected by 16 colleges, but hired by Google. Now he's suing some of the schools for anti-Asian discrimination. This is Stanley Zahn. He had a 4.42 grade point average. He had nearly perfect SAT scores. He had bested adults in competitive coding competitions. And he even started his own electronic signing service, all while still in high school. You would okay.
This kid sounds like he should be getting into any university he wants. Maybe I understand it's like a Harvard or like a Columbia rejects him because it's a Harvard or a Columbia. You know what I mean? it's expected to get rejected by 1 or 2 Ivy League schools. But even then, he should at least be accepted at one of these Ivy League schools.
Rejected by 16 of the 18 colleges, including the 5 universities of California campuses that should have been safety schools for this kid.
Those are safety schools for this kid. This kid is a 4.42 GPA, runs a business, beats adults in coding competitions, is clearly passionate about it.
So he's saying this. Zong, 19, and his father, Nan Zong, filed a series of lawsuits this year alleging that the colleges, including those in the University of California system, engage in racially discriminatory admissions practices that disadvantage highly qualified Asian American applicants. That's been a thing in the news.
Yeah,
and that went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court really took it to Harvard. According to the civil complaints, which were written with the assistance of artificial intelligence, the most recent lawsuit was filed against Cornell University last week. So they're using artificial intelligence to write their lawsuits. That's awesome.
Well, that's right. Yeah, have you used AI to write certain more official documents?
Listen, I try to stay away.
It's useful.
It's useful. I should learn more AI.
It's great to use for research and everything. I credit this kid because this kid knows the capabilities of AI. He knows what to look for.
He's working for Google.
The guy's working for Google. This kid knows what he's doing.
Google snatched him.
And the father, I love the father has his back.
Because guess what school did accept him? Texas, baby. Woo!
University
Hook
of
'em
Texas.
horns, baby. Yeah.
At Austin?
Rightfully
so.
So, hook 'em horns.
That should be a safety school for that kid, though. It is a good school. It is a very good school.
It's a great school, but it should be
great school. But it should be safety for this kid.
Like, that kid should be like, he should have been in an
He should have at least...
Or Stanford or something like that.
How many schools did he apply to? 18?
18. He got rejected by 16.
He should have been accepted by minimum 11 or 12. I can understand 4 to 6.
He should have been, honestly, he should have been arrested. He should have been...
Arrested? Arrested?
He should have been accepted by at least 17. Only one school probably should have rejected him.
I wouldn't know. I say at least 12 because I know how certain Ivy League schools are when they're, you know what I mean, super picky.
Now, UC says fall 2024 enrollment data released in January showed that Asian Americans made up the largest group of undergrads at 36.3.
That doesn't mean shit.
Don't mean shit.
If you accepted somebody who had worse qualifications than this into the same program, that's the problem.
I'm looking for the exact date on the The Supreme Court struck down in 2023 affirmative action policies at colleges and universities that use race as a factor in deciding who's admitted. So it's against the law to use race as a factor. But here's the thing. I think it needs to go one step further because I think, you know what, with the whole DEI shit that we had to deal with, I think there needs to be, I think when you get rejected from something, whether it's a job,
right,
or college, or whatever it is, like if you're applying for an open position where the rule says, the law says there should be equal opportunity, when you get rejected, you are required to give that person a reason. Not a general reason, but a real reason. Hey, you don't have the experience we are looking for in this job. So therefore, you can say the person who did get hired had 10 years experience, you only had 5 years experience. Okay, that makes sense. So therefore, if you get a letter saying you don't have the experience you needed for this job, and you have 10 years experience, but yet the other person had 10 years experience, you'd be like, wait a minute, there's something right here. There needs to be some sort of this idea that
you be social cues. You know what I mean? Like you fit with the team. You're a good guy. Because I can understand that.
No, that's bullshit. You fit with the team. That is a load of shit. You don't know if they fit with. Listen, I used to hire people.
I know.
I used to hire people left and right for Apple and for Target. There's no way I could say in my head on a reasonable, authentic, and honest basis by meeting someone for the first time, the second time, or even the third time for a third interview that they would make a good fit with the team. You know why? Because I hadn't seen them with the team.
But
I have no idea.
But when I say that, I mean like based off of like maybe you were you clearly were part of a lot of activities in universities. You led groups. You know what I mean? To a certain extent, they were successful. You have some. You know what I mean? I can see that.
Well, I can see. What have you done? What are your accomplishments?
Exactly.
What are your measurable accomplishments and skills?
Right. I can see that. I can understand. Maybe you choose that over certain qualities in terms of skill because you can always sometimes teach skill. Right.
I hated when people would say, I'd talk to other hiring managers at times and we'd do something. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, I said, so what do you look for?" I look for someone who they're good to chill out with. They seem like a good person. What the freak does that get you? Like, yeah, you can be a good person, but they could be sucky at what they do for a job, right?
Yeah.
I don't want somebody. Like, listen, if I want to hang out and have a beer with you, that doesn't mean I want you working for me. That's just not, and that's not the case.
It's a bonus, maybe.
But going back to this, I think there should be a law that if you are rejected by a college, private, public, don't care. If you were rejected, you need to give me a specific reason. Your grade point average wasn't good enough. You did not have the right prerequisites. You didn't have whatever it is. There needs to be some sort of criteria that can be measured and say, this is why it's fair that you are not getting this job. This is why it's fair that you're not getting into this school. This is why it's fair that you don't get into this club. Whatever it might be, okay?
Right.
So, yeah, so things like this, we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
I would have liked that from some. I mean, I applied during the COVID year, and obviously most of the schools accepted, I believe, half it was the statistic came out of what they normally accepted the previous year. I would have loved to know the reason from University of Chicago.
Yeah.
Because they sent me so much stuff over the past year or two.
they practically recruited you.
They practically recruited me, and I made them. They were my first choice. And I could maybe argue, oh, maybe you wanted a 4.0 GPA, right? But I still had everything else going for me. And I knew some people who got accepted, or one person or two people who got accepted, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just weird. But anyways, I think that should be a standard for anybody. Because also, how do you expect the kid to improve upon himself? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, if I don't have what you need, how do I know what to get? You know
So
what I mean?
maybe the next time you have a job like this open somewhere else, I can go apply.
I always hated people would give you in Apple. They would for a while they had this generic thing where you'd have to say to somebody, "You're just not the right fit." What the fuck does that mean?
Exactly. It's like
I'd
I want to be a fit.
Like
How?
I would hate that. I'd have superiors tell me, "Just tell the person they're not a right fit." Well, what do you mean they're not a right? I don't understand. What do you mean they're not the right fit? Like, are there uniforms and they don't fit into the uniforms? Like, what exactly does that mean? Because the person would inevitably, who I was giving a rejection to, would inevitably ask me if they were smart and they were really dedicated to doing well and wanting to succeed. They would ask me, what can I do now to improve so next time around I have a better chance at this opportunity, right? I've got to be able to answer that question as a hiring manager, as a manager in general. What, do we make bullshit up? That's just not fair to that person. It's ridiculous.
It's disingenuous. It's also this is a person's life too. You know.
But again, it goes back to when we instituted DEI. I'd have to tell people, you know, my bosses would tell me we can't hire that person. Why? They're white. Literally got told that. We can't. Literally got told can't hire another white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl. Why not? She's the only one that applied for the job. She's qualified. It just won't look good. So what do I tell her? Tell her she's not ready. Okay, but what do you mean she's not ready? Make something up. That's when I decided to start leaving the corporate world. I said, I can't deal with this shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to lie to people. I want people to be ready to get the job. I want people who are qualified to get the job, but I don't want to lie to people. I think this kid's got a good thing, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm reading what this kid started his own business when he was fucking high school.
Yeah, great for him.
Plus the 4.47?
I just sold silver, and I didn't really start that. I tagged along, you know what I mean? Sure, I was passionate about it, but, you know, still.
Oh, man.
Kid deserves everything more in terms of, like, opportunity.
That's what I think. So, all right. With that. You want your time for one more?
Sure, why not?
All right.
Is it a heavy topic?
Kind of.
Oh, okay.
So,
why did I just see a graveyard?
October 7th, baby.
Why wasn't well?
Families of October 7th victims are suing Palestinian-American billionaire Bashar Masri for conspiring with Hamas ahead of the attacks. Now, what do they mean by this? Okay, so as I read through this article, we have problems, people. So understand this, that the area in Gaza, where Hamas launched their terrorist attack from, next to the Israeli border, has massive amounts of tunnels and tunnel systems located underneath it. Well, the suit was filed by Osen LLC, an American law firm that specializes in anti-terrorism litigation, having filed similar suits against banks it accuses of helping the Iranian regime, abetting Saddam Hussein's Iraq, Hezbollah, and other groups, and successfully sued the Arab Bank on behalf of American victims in terror in 2004. So this is not some Mickey Mouse lawsuit.
So this is a very professional, like, we
professional.
win cases.
Right. So Basra Masri owns a bunch of companies, including a real estate development. He was one of the main funds, investors, planners of the land that was developed that all the tunnels were underneath.
So you're saying this person would have known about...
Saying this person probably knew about these tunnels.
And did nothing.
Or actually encouraged it. Now, who else funded that area of land for development? Let me give you the list.
Is it Iran?
the European Union,
Well,
the United Nations, USAID.
Well, those those organizations, I should say organizations, right? They're well known to try to do humanitarian work in areas. I don't think they knew the tunnels were going on. I doubt the EU knew about it.
It's an industrial park. They had to have been digging.
Sure, but at the same time, your billionaire friend could be like, "Hey, don't dig around there," or not dig around there, but it goes to be like, "Hey, don't put your tunnel in that area." They're digging.
By actively working with Hamas to build and maintain its attack tunnel infrastructure, while simultaneously advancing Hamas's campaign of deception, Masri and the companies aided and abetted and conspired with Hamas. The October 7th attack and the deaths of soldiers and civilians thereafter were a foreseeable consequence of the defendants' collaboration with Hamas.
Oh, damn. That's not really a good charge to have lobbed against you.
So, my thing is, what the frig are we doing funding anything in Gaza when Hamas is the controlling government or organization?
I mean, the EU,
and they're listed as
UN.
a terror organization. Fine, United Nations, European Union, they can answer for themselves. USAID. Is there another reason we need for Elon Musk to shut USAID down, giving money to Gaza and Hamas to build whatever they want?
I'm sure they weren't trying to. I'm sure they weren't giving it to Hamas.
I'm sure they weren't auditing the place.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they were auditing the place. And I hope it wasn't something where it's like it had to do with like weird money laundering things. I've saw that this is disgusting. But obviously that's speculation. We don't have any information on that. I'm not going to say that is the truth or the facts around it. It just doesn't look good on USAID anymore. It makes it hard. It hurts its image. It was already damaged. Now it's damaged worse. Dude, my birthday is just forever tainted, huh?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's okay. I'll celebrate you still.
Yeah.
But with that. All right, buddy. This has been fun doing this a little bit earlier.
It was a little bit, yeah. It's kind of nice because now I don't have to wait. Kind of be later. I can kind of work and
we can work on stuff. If I feel like streaming some video games, we can do that.
Exactly.
We can screw around. We can whatever.
Chill out. Eat dinner at a good time.
Eat dinner at a decent time.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you eat dinner at 10 o'clock, it just doesn't settle.
Or really early.
Or really early.
Yeah, it seems weird. Well, also, I got accustomed to that in like Europe because
this is true.
They think Americans are weird for the time we eat at 6 o'clock dinner. Did we used to do that? I think we did it a couple times.
Something like that.
We used to do like really 7, 8. They look at us weird.
Yeah.
Like 8, 10. That's normal.
But I enjoy it. I think we might continue to kind of keep this as an earlier thing, and yeah, maybe we change it from late night with the gringo to south of the border. Maybe we do that.
And maybe we do the occasional late night.
Occasional late night when we feel like it. When I can't sleep because my medicine keeps me up. My special medicine.
Exactly.
All right, with that, we out of here. You got anything more?
No.
With that, from south of the border, I'm still your reelected gringo. Salud. Huevo. We out of here.
Adios.
You a racist? Do you hate Mexicans?
So long, gay boys!